Antwerp is the heart of Flanders and the largest port in Belgium. The city lies on the banks of the Scheldt, only 88 kilometers from the North Sea, which has made it one of Europe's most important maritime gateways. Thanks to this city, Belgium has direct access to global trade routes. Antwerp was founded in the 2nd century CE as a Roman settlement. In Latin, it was called Andauerpa, or Antwerpia. This name refers to the artificially raised banks of the Scheldt estuary and derives from the expression on the wharft, meaning on the elevation. In this region, people often built mounds on the coastal plains and established their settlements there to protect themselves from flooding. Later, archaeologists found ceramics, iron objects, and remnants of wood and leather in these mounds. There is also another explanation for the city's name. According to a legend that emerged in the 15th century, Antwerp received its name from the brave warrior Brabo, who defeated an evil giant and threw his hand into the river. This event gave the city its name, which, translated from Dutch, means hand-throwing, handwerpen.
Antwerp received its city rights in 1291. In the Middle Ages, the city joined the Hanseatic League and developed into a flourishing center of trade in textiles, spices, and other goods. The 16th century became Antwerp's golden age, the period of its greatest prosperity. The city transformed into Western Europe's commercial metropolis. In 1531, one of the first stock exchanges in Europe was founded here. The cloth and diamond processing industries thrived. The first diamond was cut here in 1476. Up to 40% of global trade passed through the port of Antwerp, and the city attracted merchants from all over the world. It was during this golden age that Antwerp became the home of the great artist Peter Paul Rubens. His magnificent paintings still adorn the city's churches today.
In the second half of the 16th century, the city experienced hard times. The religious wars inflicted great damage on Antwerp. After the uprising against the Spanish in 1576, Antwerp was plundered. The Spanish troops carried out a massacre in which 7,000 people lost their lives. After the division of the Netherlands, Antwerp ended up in the Catholic south and was cut off from the sea. The Dutch blocked navigation on the Scheldt, and the city's leading role passed to Amsterdam in the Netherlands. Nevertheless, Antwerp remained an important cultural center, home to great artists such as Rubens, Van Dyck, Jordaens, Snyders, and Peter Bruegel the Younger.
In 1795, the city was occupied by the French. Napoleon Bonaparte recognized the strategic importance of the port and ordered its reconstruction and modernization. He described it as a pistol pointed at the heart of England. After Napoleon's defeat and Belgium's independence in 1830, the Scheldt was once again temporarily closed. But in 1863, the tolls for passage on the river were abolished, marking the beginning of the port's second era of prosperity.
During both World Wars of the 20th century, the city was occupied by German troops. After its liberation in 1944, the port of Antwerp became an extremely important supply base for the Allies, despite heavy bombardment by German rockets. In the post-war period, the city continued to develop into a major center of industry, chemistry, diamonds, and culture. Today, Antwerp is the second largest port in Europe, a global hub of the diamond trade, and a dynamic center for fashion and art.
Antwerp is located 40 kilometers north of Brussels. From Brussels, you can reach Antwerp by train. The journey takes about 40 to 50 minutes.
The Antwerp Central Station, Antwerpen Centraal, is one of the most impressive and poetic railway stations in Europe. Because of its monumental architecture and rich decor, it is often referred to as the Railway Cathedral. The Antwerp station is a true architectural kaleidoscope, combining elements of neo-Baroque, neo-Renaissance, and eclecticism. It was built between 1895 and 1905 by the architect Louis de la Senserie. The facade and interior halls are designed in the mega-Baroque style. Monumental arches, marble columns, gilded coats of arms, and ornate sculptural decorations. The main hall resembles a royal palace, with richly decorated walls and marble staircases. Its inspiration came from Italian and Flemish Renaissance palaces, which is why one has the impression that this is not a transport hub, but rather an urban cathedral of travel.
At the time of its completion, the station astonished visitors with its extraordinary luxury. More than 20 different types of marble and stone in various colors and shades were used. The magnificent clock above the entrance recalls the historical importance of the Belgian railway. Original decorative details from the early 20th century have been preserved to this day. The enormous dome with glass windows, rising about 75 meters high, is among the building's most distinctive features. It lets in plenty of light and, despite the monumental stone facade, creates a sense of spaciousness and lightness. The station has 4 levels, and trains arrive at 14 platforms.
According to various publications, including Newsweek and Mashable, the station is ranked among the 10 most beautiful railway stations in the world. In 2009, it was named the most beautiful station in Europe by American News magazine. The station's monumental architecture and cinematic atmosphere have made it a popular location for directors. It has appeared multiple times in films, music videos, and commercials. In 2009, Antwerp Central Station became the setting for a flash mob to a song from the musical The Sound of Music. More than 200 dancers performed a choreography on the main staircase. The video reached tens of millions of views and brought the station worldwide fame. Since then, the building has frequently appeared in advertisements for tourism brands, fashion houses, and in music videos, as a symbol of the romance of travel.
On the east side of the station is one of the oldest zoos in Europe, opened in 1843. The Antwerp Zoo is home to historic buildings and beautiful Art Deco-style pavilions. With its main facade, the station faces Astridplein, Queen Astrid Square. On the east side of the square, you can see the Queen Elizabeth Hall, the official residence of the Antwerp Symphony Orchestra. Opposite the station, on the north side of the square, stands the high-rise building of the Radisson Blu Hotel, a striking example of postmodern architecture. The same building also houses the Chocolate Museum, Chocolate Nation.
From the west side of the central station, we head along the Kaiserlei Street toward the historic city center. Directly across from the station, numerous shops selling jewelry and gemstones begin. On the left side stretches Antwerp's Diamond District. The metro station here is aptly named Antwerpen Diamant. Antwerp has been a center of the gemstone trade since the 15th century. At first, diamonds arrived here from India, and later also from Africa and South America. In the 19th century, with the development of the port and canals, the city became the world capital of diamond cutting. The district near the station developed at the end of the 19th and the beginning of the 20th century, when jewelers and merchants from various countries settled near transport routes and banks. People of many nationalities hurry through the streets, moving from one shop to the next. Around 80% of the world's rough diamonds and about half of all polished diamonds pass through Antwerp. On the facades of the buildings, you can see symbols in the shape of diamond cuts or the hand of Brabo, a sign of pride in this craft. Antwerp is also home to the DIVA Museum for Diamonds, Jewelry and Silver, which opened in 2018 at Suikerrui 17. There you can see everything from ancient jewelry pieces to modern masterpieces created by Belgian artisans.
After a few minutes on foot, we reach a magnificent square with a monument to the Flemish painter David Teniers. Behind the monument stand two symmetrically arranged, beautiful buildings in the neo-Baroque style. If you reach the square before the monument and turn right at the round metro station, you can admire the splendid building of the Flemish Opera and Ballet after about 100 meters. This is the largest cultural institution in Flanders, bringing together opera, ballet, concerts, and musical theater. The ensemble performs in the cities of Antwerp and Ghent. Here in Antwerp, the artists appear in an impressive historic building constructed in 1907 in the neo-Baroque style. The Flemish Opera aims to unite grand classical opera and classical ballet with new, contemporary productions.
We return to Teniers Square, the monument to the painter David Teniers the Younger, created by the well-known 19th century Belgian sculptor Joseph Ducajou, is cast in bronze and set on a pedestal of red granite. David Teniers the Younger is one of the most important Flemish painters and engravers of the 17th century, the era of the golden age of the Netherlands. The pedestal bears the artist's life dates from 1610 to 1690. As a member of a large family of Flemish artists, he was a versatile painter and an innovator in numerous genres of painting, including history scenes, genre painting, landscapes, portraits, and still lifes. The erection of a monument to an artist of this period highlights the respect that Flanders shows for its classical masters.
The two magnificent neo-Baroque buildings with domes and rich decorative ornamentation were designed as a gateway and as an important visual landmark along the street that leads from the station across Teniers Square to the main shopping streets in the center of Antwerp. They have great architectural significance as examples of the architecture of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The building on the right is the former Grand Hotel Metropole. It was built in 1904, according to the plans of the architect Frans van Dyck.
The building on the left was constructed in 1889, according to the design of the architect Ernest Deeltjens. These structures are undoubtedly among the most impressive sights in Antwerp. Their domes, symmetry, and sculptural grandeur immediately evoke the spirit of the Belgian Paris of the late 19th century. Today, the buildings are protected as heritage monuments and are being restored. They are used for both residential and commercial purposes.
Behind Teniers Square begins the short street Leijstraat, which leads to the most famous shopping street, Meir. At the beginning of Meir, we see a monument to the painter Anthony van Dyck. He was one of the leading portraitists and Baroque painters of his time, as well as a student and assistant of Peter Paul Rubens. His name is closely linked to the flourishing of Flemish painting in the 17th century, and in Antwerp, the city where he was born, he is given special attention and remembrance.
Meir is a very popular and beautiful pedestrian street. It is not only the most important shopping avenue in Antwerp, but also one of the most prestigious shopping streets in all of Belgium. Along Meir, you will find numerous shops, from monumental department stores housed in listed historic buildings to small boutiques and trendy bars. Modern Antwerp is known as a center of the fashion and design industry and attracts many Flemish as well as international artists, writers, and intellectuals. City events, seasonal markets, and Christmas fairs are often held here. Antwerp is a city with many faces, very dynamic and modern.
The building of the Municipal Festival Hall was designed by the city architect Mechelen in the neoclassical style and constructed in 1908. It was originally intended as a hall for celebrations and exhibitions, not as a shopping center. It is a magnificent example of neoclassicism with elements of eclecticism, Baroque, and Art Nouveau. In 1983, the building was officially recognized as a historical monument. In December 2000, a major fire broke out. The building was almost completely destroyed, with only the metal structure and the facade remaining intact. Reconstruction began in 2004 and was completed in October 2007, after which the building was reopened as a shopping center. Today, the interior of the Municipal Festival Hall houses around 40 shops on an area of about 20,000 square meters. During the restoration, many original architectural elements were preserved and restored, including marble staircases, the glass dome, and decorative details with gilding.
This is not just a shopping center, but an architectural monument with a rich history. A walk through it allows you to feel both the past and present of Antwerp. You can observe the fascinating contrast between the historic interior, gilding, the dome and marble, and modern life. The shopping center is conveniently located in the city center, and a visit can easily be combined with a stroll along Meir and with other sites in Antwerp. Even if you are not planning extensive shopping, it is worth stepping inside to enjoy the interior and the special atmosphere.
Not far from the Stadsfeestzaal shopping center is the Rubens House. The great Flemish painter lived in this house during the last 29 years of his life. Today, the building serves as a house museum, where both the architecture and a collection related to Rubens's life and work can be seen. Rubens purchased the house in 1610 and had it remodeled according to his own designs, transforming it into an elegant residential palace and studio. In doing so, he took inspiration from the forms of the Italian Renaissance. The only preserved original part of the Rubens house, which he designed himself after the model of the Palazzi of Genoa, is the portico in the courtyard. Rubens assembled an impressive construction of paintings in his home. Unfortunately, these works are now dispersed among various museums and private collections around the world. Nevertheless, Belgium has succeeded in bringing back several important paintings, including the original of Rubens's own work, Adam and Eve in Paradise.
The most important room in the Rubens house is his studio. Many of his famous paintings were created here. The room is very spacious. Unsurprising, since several people typically worked on a single painting at the same time. His team included specialists who focused on depicting animals, plants, or entire landscapes. Some of his assistants later became famous in their own right, including Anthony van Dyck. After Rubens's death in 1640, the house passed through various hands. The city of Antwerp acquired it in 1937, and the museum opened in 1946. The museum is currently undergoing extensive renovation. The artist's actual residence is temporarily closed, but the garden, the library, and parts of the exhibition remain accessible. Before visiting, it is advisable to check the museum's current accessibility.
After visiting the Rubens house, we make our way to St. James's Church, where the great artist is buried. We turn into Wapper Street, which used to be called Rubensstraat. There we see, on a pedestal, the sculpture group The Eagle, cast in 1931 by the Danish animal sculptor Hugo Leisberg. In 1980, the sculpture of the eagle tearing apart a fish became the central element of a small fountain basin, with a jet of water also emerging from the fish's mouth.
Not far from the fountain, at the intersection of the shopping street, Meir and Wapper Street, stands the Royal City Palace from the 18th century, an important architectural monument. During the war with France, the palace belonged to Napoleon. After his defeat, it passed into the possession of the Dutch royal family. With the creation of Belgium in 1830, the palace became the property of the Belgian kings, and in 1969, it was given to the people by being transferred to state administration. The interesting external architecture and the richness of the interiors, where Rococo and Empire styles are combined, make it one of the most fascinating historic buildings on Meir.
As we continue our walk along Meir, we admire the romantic combination of historical elements with modern buildings. At the corners of houses, we occasionally discover touching sculptural depictions of the Virgin Mary with the Christ child. Near the Bershka store, we turn into Lange Klarenstraat and head towards St. James's Church.
St. James's Church is a late Gothic structure with richly appointed Baroque interior decoration and is rightly considered one of the city's monumental churches. It was built in 1431 as a chapel for pilgrims from northern Europe who were on their way to the tomb of the Apostle James in Santiago de Compostela. Pilgrims still come here today to ask for a blessing for their journey, which is usually made on foot. For this reason, the church's decoration contains numerous attributes of pilgrimage, such as the scallop shell of St. James, the pilgrim's staff, hat, water flask, and cloak, which appear repeatedly in the church's decor. In 1476, the chapel was elevated to the status of a parish church.
The church was rebuilt in the Brabantine Gothic style, and it has been preserved in this form to the present day. Massive columns support the typical, almost skeletal structure, while the richly decorated pointed arch windows give the church a festive yet elegant appearance. The main construction of the present building took place roughly between 1491 and 1656. Originally, a tall spire of about 150 meters was planned, higher than the towers of Antwerp Cathedral. However, construction was halted because the tower was not allowed to surpass the cathedral in height. As a result, only part of the originally planned height was realized. Instead, the church received a massive tower that has been one of Antwerp's architectural landmarks for more than 500 years.
The church's original Gothic interior, as well as the furnishings from the early Renaissance period, have not survived. They were destroyed at the end of the 16th century by Protestant iconoclasts. After the Calvinists' conquest, the church was returned to the Catholics in 1585. From that time on, a new period of flourishing began, during which the church was furnished with Baroque artworks. Fortunately, these have been preserved to this day. Why fortunately? Because the church survived the French Revolution. The local priest turned out to be a collaborator. He swore loyalty to the ideals of the Republic, and as a reward, the revolutionary authorities allowed him to preserve one of the churches intact. Nevertheless, the building suffered severe damage during the Second World War. Most of the stained glass windows were destroyed in the bombings.
The interior of the church is predominantly Baroque in style and richly decorated with marble and ornamental elements. Numerous altars and exceptionally sumptuous furnishings define its appearance. The high altar of the church is dedicated to St. James. Depicted here is the scene of St. James's Assumption into heaven. The earlier Gothic altar focused on the Apostles' martyrdom, but the Baroque is an optimistic and life-affirming style. Therefore, only a palm branch in the hand of an angel remains as a reference to his martyr's death. As you can see, the decoration is rich in pilgrimage attributes. The staff in the saint's hand, scallop shell motifs on his cloak, and even a gilded water flask.
In the side chapels of the church, there are 23 altars belonging to guilds, religious brotherhoods, and wealthy Antwerp families. More than 100 different types of marble were used in their construction, and the decoration includes paintings by Flemish artists of the 16th and 17th centuries. The great artist Peter Paul Rubens was a parishioner of St. James's Church. This is also where he found his final resting place. His ashes, originally buried in the Formont family crypt, the family of his second wife, were transferred in 1643 to a chapel specially created for this purpose behind the high altar. His descendants were later buried there as well. The black and white marble altar by Faidherbe above Rubens's tomb is crowned with a statue of the Virgin Mary that Rubens himself brought from Italy. In front of it stands his own painting, Madonna and Child surrounded by saints. All the figures depicted are easily recognizable. Rubens gave the Virgin Mary the features of his first wife, Isabella Brandt. Mary Magdalene resembles his second wife, Hélène Formon, and in the figure of Saint George in armor, he portrayed himself.
Not far from St. James's Church stands St. Charles Borromeo Church. This former Jesuit church is a true jewel of the city and attracts art and history lovers from around the world with its rich history and impressive decoration. Built in the magnificent Baroque style, the church was constructed in the 17th century as an expression of the steadfastness and unshakable strength of the Catholic faith. The structure was meant to show the rising Protestant movement the power and invincibility of the true religion. The facade, the high altar, and the interior were designed with the involvement of Peter Paul Rubens. Such an enormous sum of money was spent on the construction that even the Pope was astonished. Architecturally, the church was modeled after the most important Jesuit temple in Rome, the Chiesa del Gesù. Construction began in 1615, and just 6 years later, the church was consecrated to Saint Ignatius, the founder of the order. Later, after the suppression of the Jesuit order, the church was rededicated to Saint Charles Borromeo, a strict reformer and cardinal.
But there is another central figure here, Peter Paul Rubens. He was not only a painter, but also one of the co-creators of the church's overall artistic concept. His works adorned the ceilings and altars, and the church virtually glowed with painting. Contemporaries said, "This is not a house of God, it is a gallery in heaven." And indeed, 39 ceiling paintings by Rubens transformed the space into an apparently boundless celestial vault in which saints, angels, and light merged in vivid movement. Unfortunately, in 1718, lightning struck the roof, and a fire destroyed much of this splendor. Yet, as so often in history, the destruction itself became part of the legend. The church was rebuilt and thereafter appeared more restrained, but it preserved its solemn, slightly theatrical soul.
Inside, St. Charles Borromeo Church impresses with its abundance of marble, intricate wood carvings, and expressive sculptures. The high altar, the richly decorated confessionals, and the pulpit, all executed with extraordinary mastery, deserve special attention. The church's interior creates an atmosphere of solemn grandeur and spiritual elevation, making it not only an architectural monument, but also a place where the history and art of the Baroque can be experienced firsthand. Upon entering, the space seems to rise above the visitor. The Baroque interior naturally guides the eye upward, to the place where Rubens's paintings once hovered. Particularly fascinating is the movable altar, a mechanism that allows the altarpieces to be changed depending on the season. In the Baroque era, this was a way to bring the church to life and turn each feast into a small theatrical spectacle. The painting The Return of the Holy Family by Peter Paul Rubens was created specifically for this church. It first came into the possession of the artist's patron, Nicolas Rocox, a friend of the master, who later donated the work to the church. In 1776, when many of the original altarpieces were removed from the church for export, this painting also disappeared. It entered the art market and remained outside Antwerp for many years. In 2017, however, the painting was reacquired by the church's parishioners and returned to its rightful place, the Chapel of St. Joseph near the choir. Today, after its restoration, we have the opportunity to admire the work in the form in which viewers of the 17th century would have seen it.
A visit to St. Charles Borromeo Church is a unique opportunity to experience one of the most impressive examples of Baroque architecture in Northern Europe. The church is located on the picturesque Hendrik Conscience Square and is an absolute must for anyone interested in the culture and art of Antwerp. This is a place where history comes alive and where the beauty of architecture and decoration inspires genuine admiration. A place where Rubens left a part of his soul. A place where the Jesuits built not only walls, but emotional bridges to people. A place where the Baroque does not sound loud, but resonates profoundly. Anyone who enters this space feels the power of art, a power that has withstood time, fire, and historical upheavals.
From Hendrik Conscience Square, we make our way to the Green Square. Our route leads through the alleys of the Old Town, where romantic history blends with modern buildings. "This city is delightful," wrote Victor Hugo about Antwerp. "The charm of its squares and streets, its churches and monuments with their significant historical past, evokes both wonder and admiration. A fairy tale atmosphere arises from the combination of Gothic and Baroque, Renaissance and vintage elements, from the merging of styles from different eras. The Milk Market, the Egg Market, these old names, preserved to this day, tell the story of the past life of these streets and squares."
The Green Square of Antwerp, Groenplaats, is one of the city's central and most famous squares. It is a lively urban space located in the immediate vicinity of Antwerp's Cathedral of Our Lady and serves as an important hub for transportation, culture, and tourism. Originally, this was the city cemetery belonging to the cathedral. In the 17th century, the cemetery was closed by order of the city authorities, and the area was leveled, which is how the name Groenplaats, Green Square, came about, even though for a long time there were hardly any green areas there. In the 19th century, the location developed into a bustling city square with cafes, hotels, and shops.
In the center of the square stands a monument to Antwerp's most famous resident, the painter Peter Paul Rubens. The monument was erected in 1840 on the occasion of the 200th anniversary of Rubens's death. The initiative came from the Antwerp city administration, which wished to highlight the artist's contribution to the city's international renown. The creator of the monument is the Belgian sculptor Willem Geefs, one of the leading masters of the 19th century. The sculpture is made of bronze and stands on a massive stone pedestal. Rubens is depicted life-size, in a characteristic aristocratic and confident pose. A cloak draped loosely over his shoulders, his right hand slightly open, as if addressing the viewer, his left hand resting on a sword, a symbol of his knighthood bestowed by the King of Spain.
The overall impression is one of dignity, elegance, and intellectual authority. The sculpture is positioned so that Rubens faces the Cathedral of Our Lady in Antwerp, where his famous works, The Elevation of the Cross and The Descent from the Cross, are located. The Green Square was chosen for the monument because of its proximity to the cathedral and the historic city centre, places closely connected to the artist's life. Rubens lived only a few minutes' walk from here, in his house that is now known as the Rubens House Museum, and his tomb is located in St. James's Church. At the inauguration of the monument in 1840, the event was accompanied by major celebrations and processions. It was one of the city of Antwerp's first public mass festivals.
From Green Square, one of the most beautiful views opens up toward the Cathedral of Our Lady, the most important Gothic landmark of the city. From here, the cathedral reveals its full splendor from the south side. Along the narrow alley beside the cathedral, we reach the Markt, one of the most atmospheric places in Antwerp's historic Old Town. This small, cozy, and very old square lies directly at the foot of the Cathedral of Our Lady and is considered one of the city's key postcard spots. In the Middle Ages, gloves were traded here, an important commodity in prosperous, craft-oriented Antwerp. Nearby were the workshops of tanners and small craftsmen who supplied both local residents and visiting merchants. Around the square, we see historic buildings from the 16th to the 18th centuries. Many of them feature the typical Flemish stepped gables. Today, they house cafes, chocolateries, and souvenir shops.
On Markt, right next to the Cathedral of Our Lady in Antwerp, we see the sculpture of a sleeping boy with a dog. This monument is dedicated to the heroes of the touching story of Nello and Patrasche, which has become especially popular in Japan and Korea. The story is based on the book A Dog of Flanders by the English writer Ouida, written in 1872. A boy named Nello lived with his poor grandfather in a village near Antwerp. They earned their living by delivering milk to the city. One day, Nello finds the dog Patrasche, emaciated and abused by his previous owner, who had forced him to pull a heavy cart. The boy nurses the dog back to health, and from that moment on, they become inseparable friends. Nello loves drawing and dreams of becoming an artist, like his idol Peter Paul Rubens. He wants to see Rubens's famous paintings in Antwerp's Cathedral of Our Lady, but the entrance is paid, and the boy has no money.
Misfortunes follow one after another. The grandfather dies. Nello is wrongly accused of setting fire to the mill. The boy is left without a home and without any means. At Christmas, he is completely alone. Only Patrasche stays with him. In bitter cold, Nello enters the cathedral. On that day, admission is free, and he finally sees Rubens's paintings, his dream. Exhausted by cold and hunger, he lies down on the floor next to Patrasche. By morning, both have died, wrapped in each other's embrace. Although the story is extraordinarily sad, it touched the hearts of readers around the world, especially in Japan, where the book became a classic. Nello and Patrasche are considered symbols of loyalty, kindness, and pure dreams. The sculpture, made of white marble, depicts the sleeping Nello and Patrasche, covered by a blanket of cobblestones. It was created in 2016 by the Belgian artist Baptiste Vermeulen.
Right here on Markt stands a small fountain sculpture, a kind of miniature version of the large Brabo and Giant fountain located on Antwerp's Great Market Square. The fountain, with its wrought iron pointed arch structure resembling a delicate pavilion, is crowned by a figure of the Roman warrior Silvius Brabo, who defeated the giant. The fountain was created over 500 years ago by a man named Quintin Massis, who exchanged hammer and anvil for brush and paint, and thus became a famous painter. The father of his beloved young wife had refused to marry her to a man from a guild unfamiliar to him, so Massis abandoned his blacksmith's trade and turned to painting.
The Cathedral of Our Lady in Antwerp is a majestic Roman Catholic church and the dominant structure of the square, with its main facade opening onto it. It survived the Reformation, the iconoclasm, and the French occupation, yet always returned to Catholic worship and became the spiritual heart of Antwerp. Construction began in 1352. The work lasted nearly 2 centuries, and the cathedral was formally completed in 1521. It was built in the magnificent Gothic style of the Brabantine school, light, delicate, and striving toward the heavens. Jean Appelmans, Amel, was the first master builder, who laid the foundation stone in 1352 and directed the work for 40 years. Peter Appelmans, his son, continued the construction after his father's death. The Appelmans dynasty became a symbol of the early phase of building, which was finally completed in 1521.
At the foot of one of the cathedral's walls stands the touching sculpture group, Monument to the Builders of the Tower, created in 1906 by the Belgian sculptor Jeff Lambeau. In the center is the architect Peter Appelmans, son of John Appelmans, who is believed to have overseen the construction of the famous North Tower. He stands elevated, giving instructions to the stonemasons depicted at his feet. The monument symbolizes not only the work of the architect himself, but also serves as a tribute to all the masters and apprentices who built this majestic cathedral. The sculpture was installed in its current location in 1935.
From the outside, the cathedral appears like a stone symphony of vertical lines. Slim ribs and flying buttresses create the impression that the building does not merely stand on the ground, but rather hovers above the city. The cathedral has 3 towers, but only the northern one, 123 meters high, was completed. It became Antwerp's main landmark and today is part of the UNESCO World Heritage. This tower is the tallest bell tower in the countries of northwestern Europe. Its multi-sided structure, adorned with stucco ornaments, is crowned by a spire topped with a golden cross. On each side are clocks with Roman numerals, and inside there is a carillon with 49 bells. The oldest are Maria and Gabriel, cast in 1459. The heaviest bell is Carolus, weighing 6.5 tons.
The main portal of the cathedral is adorned with a 3-tiered relief of the Last Judgment, framed by an arch containing reliefs of angels, prophets, and saints. Their garments seem to move in an invisible wind, an effect deliberately sought by the masters of the late Gothic period. For the faithful of the 15th century, entering the cathedral meant passing from the noisy marketplace into another dimension, a space of light and grandeur.
Upon entering the interior, one finds oneself beneath vaults that seem to have no weight. Snow-white walls, tall arcades, and the gentle lines of the ribs give the space an airy lightness. Light streams down softly from above. The vaults were built this high precisely to create this play of light. As for the interior furnishings, very little of the original decoration has survived. Only a few old frescoes and a marble statue of the Madonna from the 14th century remain. During the anti-Catholic unrest that swept through several regions of Flanders in August 1566, the Calvinists destroyed the stained glass windows and statues and burned the paintings. The restored cathedral was plundered again in 1794 by Napoleon's soldiers. The artworks traveled to France. Some of them, including one of Rubens's paintings, were later recovered and brought back.
The high altar is designed in the Baroque style using white and black marble. It was created in the 17th century and restored after the French plundering. Above the high altar hangs the painting The Assumption of the Virgin, also known as The Assumption of the Holy Virgin into Heaven, by Peter Paul Rubens, dating from 1626. This work was created specifically for the cathedral's main altar.
The most famous and valuable artworks in the cathedral, often mistakenly referred to as the high altar because of their monumental scale, are 2 enormous triptychs by Rubens located in the transept of the cathedral. Left transept, the triptych The Elevation of the Cross, 1610 to 1611. This is one of the most dramatic and powerful works of the young Rubens, painted immediately after his return from Italy.
Right transept. The triptych The Descent from the Cross, 1611 to 1614. This work is considered one of the greatest masterpieces of the global Baroque and of Flemish painting. Peter Paul Rubens did not simply bring color back into the cathedral. He restored its soul. Now his paintings glow in the semi-darkness of the side aisles. It seems as if the figures within them move, as if they continue the very story the cathedral itself tells, the story of falls and renewal, of human fragility and unshakable hope.
The Antwerp Cathedral is famous for its 2 organs, one of which, considered the main organ, has been in service for more than 130 years. The organ is 10 meters long and spans 3 levels. It contains 90 stops. Over time, it has been tuned and restored several times, yet most of its components are still original. The cathedral's organ is as majestic as the church itself. Its pipes rise like a forest of metallic stems. The sound of the organ, from an almost inaudible whisper to a mighty thunder, fills the entire space.
On the other side of the cathedral lies the great market square, Grote Markt. At its center stands the fountain with the statue of Silvius Brabo. The legend of this Roman warrior explains both the name of the city of Antwerp and the origin of the severed hand on its coat of arms. On one of the Scheldt islands, not far from the river's mouth, a fortress was once built. One day, however, this fortress was seized by the giant Druid Antigonus. From that moment on, hard times began for the sailors passing through this part of the Scheldt. The giant demanded a toll of 50%, otherwise, great misfortune awaited any ship that hoped to slip past Antigonus unnoticed. The giant kept constant watch, and if a passing ship failed to stop and pay its tribute, Antigonus would attack it, seize half of its cargo, and as punishment, chop off the unlucky sailor's hand. The giant was cruel and merciless. Anyone who refused to pay the toll had to part with his right hand. With a single blow of his enormous sword, he cut off the hand at the wrist and hurled it into the Scheldt.
No one knows how long Antigonus would have continued to terrorize the sailors if Silvius Brabo had not heard about it. Silvius was not only the king of Tongeren, but also a nephew of the great Julius Caesar. The brave Romans set out for the island where the giant had settled. In a fierce duel, Antigonus was defeated, and Brabo treated him exactly as the giant had treated the unfortunate sailors. He chopped off his enormous right hand. What happened to the giant afterward is not known, but the violence ceased, and sailors were once again able to navigate the Scheldt freely. For his deed, the courageous Brabo received the title of Duke of Brabant. The story, however, remained in the memory of the people, and when a city was founded at the place where the giant had once thrown sailors' hands into the river, it was given a name derived from Antwerpen, which in Dutch means to throw a hand.
Brabo is depicted at the top of the fountain, holding the severed hand of Antigonus in his right hand, the hand he cut off and now seems ready to cast into the river. The pedestal on which the hero stands is decorated with representations of waves and sea creatures. The castle held by mermaids symbolizes the city. The appearance of a fountain with such a motif can be explained by the fact that Belgium in the 19th century experienced a period of pronounced patriotic sentiment, accompanied by a heightened interest in its own history. For this reason, the project was extremely well received and enthusiastically supported by the public. What is particularly interesting about the fountain's design is that it has no basin for the water to flow into. Instead, the water seeps between the stones and circulates in a closed system. The fountain was created in 1887 by the sculptor Jeff Lambeau, a master renowned for his bold and expressive compositions. And indeed, his Brabo appears almost like an acrobat caught at the peak of a movement.
An important attraction of the square is the row of guildhouses from the 16th to 17th centuries. As in Brussels, they are richly decorated and look simply magnificent. Each house bears its own name: the House of the Clothmakers, the House of the Coopers, the House of the Old Weighing Scales. The latter belonged to the Guild of St. Luke, which included the Painters' Guild. It was here that Rubens would come and meet with Jordaens, Teniers, and Van Dyck, who lived nearby. The most splendid and tallest, however, is the House of the Great Crossbowman, whose roof is crowned with a gilded statue of St. George piercing the defeated dragon with his spear, a work by the sculptor Jeff Lambeau.
The Antwerp City Hall is one of the earliest buildings in Flanders to be constructed in the Renaissance style under the influence of Italian architecture. At the beginning of the 16th century, the original plan was to build the structure in the Gothic style, modeled after the town halls of Leuven and Brussels. But later, when the city finally had the financial means to proceed, Gothic was already giving way to the Renaissance style. The central part of the facade, which slightly resembles the Baroque, is adorned with 3 coats of arms. On the left, the coat of arms of the Duke of Brabant, in the center, that of the Spanish King Philip II, and on the right, the coat of arms of the Margrave of Antwerp, featuring an eagle. 1 floor above, in a niche, stands a statue of the Virgin Mary, installed during the Counter-Reformation. Originally, this niche held a statue of Saint Barbara. On the ground floor, there are 45 small rooms, which once housed tiny shops. The rental income from these stalls was used to finance the construction of the costly city hall. On the square, one often sees booths and stands selling all sorts of goods. And every year, on the 15th of August, the Rubens Market takes place here. All the women and men working at the stalls dress in the style of that era.
From the Great Market Square, we walk toward the Scheldt riverbank to the Steen Fortress. We cross the short Suikerrui Street, taking one more look back at the majestic Cathedral of Our Lady rising behind us. Here on Suikerrui is the DIVA Museum for Diamonds, Jewelry, and Silver, which we already mentioned when speaking about the Diamond District. The most remarkable building on this street is the Hanse House, House of the Hanse, one side of which faces directly onto the river promenade. It is one of Antwerp's first office buildings and was constructed in the neo-Baroque style between 1897 and 1901. Sculptures by the renowned sculptor Jeff Lambeau, symbolizing rivers and transportation, adorn the facades of the building.
The Scheldt River Promenade is one of the most beautiful places in the center of Antwerp. Here, the Scheldt appears as a calm, wide river with passenger ships and a well-maintained waterfront. Spacious walkways, shops, offices of major companies, cafes, and viewpoints shape its appearance. For many centuries, Antwerp has been one of Europe's most important ports, yet the port itself and its facilities are located away from the city center. Nearby is a unique structure, the Sint Anna Tunnel, built under the river in the 1930s. There is not a single bridge across the Scheldt in Antwerp, so as not to obstruct navigation. In addition to the tunnel, a ferry also connects the banks of the Scheldt along the central promenade.
The Steen Castle, in Dutch, the Stone, is the oldest surviving building in Antwerp and is located on the bank of the Scheldt. The stone structure that gave the castle its name dates from the 12th to 13th centuries. Over the centuries, the castle served various functions. It was initially a medieval fortress for protection against Vikings and for guarding the harbor. Later, the city prison, then the archaeological museum, and finally, the maritime museum. Today, the castle is a popular tourist attraction.
Despite the extensive reconstruction of the castle, the impressive medieval gates have been preserved, reminding visitors of the former fortress complex. Above them is a small ancient relief stone depicting the pagan god of youth and fertility, Semini. According to legend, he was the ancestor of the tribe that settled the city. In 1587, the relief was damaged by a fanatic from the Jesuit order.
At the entrance to Steen Castle stands the bronze statue of Long Wapper, erected in 1963, a legendary giant from Antwerp folklore who frightens the city's inhabitants. He should not be confused with the giant Antigonus, who demanded tribute from sailors. Long Wapper is tall and thin, which, according to popular belief, allows him to move quickly from one place to another. He can also change his size. His main targets are drunkards walking home at night. He appears to them and begins to grow taller and taller until he scares the poor souls nearly to death. And when his victim finally manages to reach home, Long Wapper likes to peer through the windows.
That is why Antwerp residents who have stayed too long in a bar often excuse themselves to their wives by saying, "I was just having a drink with friends, and we were almost caught by Long Wapper. We had to run from him for a long time." Long Wapper can also take on other forms. He can disguise himself as an infant and drink all the milk from a nursing mother, then instantly grow back to his gigantic size. Another well-known story tells of him dressing as a woman and, through trickery, leading 4 admirers to their doom. Today, Long Wapper is less a terrifying figure and more a folkloric symbol of Antwerp, an embodiment of old city legends. His statue at the entrance to Steen Castle is a popular photo spot. From the viewing platform at the top of the castle, one can admire the picturesque surroundings.
On one side, we see Antwerp's Old Town, with its narrow streets and picturesque historic buildings with pointed roofs, often referred to as guildhouses. Externally, the houses consist of alternating layers of red brick and light-colored stone, giving them an appearance reminiscent of bacon. Here you will also find the famous Butcher's Hall, which once served as the guild house and market of the city's butchers. Today, it houses the Musical Instrument Museum Sound of the City, dedicated to the musical history and soundscape of Antwerp over the past 500 years. Since September 2024, the museum has been closed for long-term restoration.
On the other side of the castle, the wide river Scheldt unfolds. The river promenade to the right of the fortress leads toward the port and the extensive harbor facilities. Interesting sites in this direction include St. Paul's Church and the MAS Museum. Not far from the promenade stands St. Paul's Church, built in 1639 as the church of the Dominican monastery. Upon entering, one admires the magnificent Baroque altars and numerous paintings, including masterpieces by Jordaens, Rubens and Van Dyck. Also impressive is the beautiful inner courtyard with a sculptural ensemble consisting of a grotto, symbolizing the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, and a depiction of the crucifixion. Along the path to Golgotha, statues of angels and saints stand in procession. The Golgotha Garden, with its massive sculptures, feels like a scene from an epic film about the Passion and Resurrection of Christ.
About 1 kilometer from Steen Castle, along the river promenade in Antwerp's Harbour District, stands the MAS Museum, Museum aan de Stroom, Museum by the River, which opened in 2011. The museum is a 60-meter-high tower, about 10 stories, composed of stacked exhibition halls, each rotated roughly 90 degrees in relation to the one below, creating the impression of a vertical promenade. At its opening, MAS united the collections of several former specialized Antwerp museums: the Maritime Museum, the Ethnographic Museum, the Folklore Museum, and other institutions. The museum's central theme is the relationship between the city of Antwerp, its history, its port, and the world. Trade, global connections, migrations, cultural exchange. The exhibition shows how Antwerp, through its port, its river, and its trade, became a gateway between Europe and the rest of the world, a cultural and economic crossroads. The architecture of the museum is itself part of this concept. Space, circulation, panoramic views, glass, and stone create the impression of a connection between city and world, between past and present. On the museum's rooftop is a panoramic terrace offering a 360-degree view of the city, the harbor, and the river.
The Porthouse is one of Antwerp's architectural jewels. This stylish building, with a rich history, serves as the administrative center of the port. The lower part was formerly a fire station that once stood at the very edge of the city. During renovation, this beautiful historic fire station was preserved. Together with the modern diamond-shaped superstructure, a monumental project by the world-famous architecture firm Zaha Hadid Architects, it forms the complete appearance of the porthouse. The facade is decorated with numerous small depictions of hands, referencing the legend of Antwerp's founding and its symbolism. This is a metaphor for the port of the 21st century, a port with a great history, yet fully prepared for the future. The building marks the beginning of Antwerp's vast harbour area, the second largest port in Europe.
From the Mass Museum, you can easily take a tram to the central station. Dear friends, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for joining us on this tour through the wonderful city of Antwerp. Goodbye, and see you next time.